The wind howled across the barren wasteland, stirring up the thick purple sand that covered the alien planet's surface. Its color reminded Adam of bruises, deep, ugly, and raw. He pulled his hood over his face, the heat of the sun barely kept at bay by the pale sky above. The sun here was cruel, burning bright with an intensity he could never get used to. He'd been on this alien world for 6 months now, stationed as part of the human delegation sent to broker peace with an intelligent species whose technology was advanced, but whose society still clung fiercely to traditions that even Adam's military mind found hard to grasp. Adam was a soldier once, back when Earth was still home. His life had been filled with wars, missions, and the occasional mission gone sideways. But now he was a mechanic, a fixer of broken machines and fractured relationships. His task here was simple enough: keep the machines running, mend what was broken, and avoid stepping on anyone's toes. Until now, he crouched beside a malfunctioning air filtration unit, running his fingers over its surface. A spark of frustration flickered in his chest. The damn thing was fine earlier, he could sworn it, but now it was throwing the whole city into chaos. Without the air scrubbers functioning properly, the residents would suffocate under the dense, toxic atmosphere. There was no time to waste. As he was about to strip it for parts, he heard heavy footsteps behind him, clanking armor, deliberate and unnerving. Adam didn't need to turn around to know who it was. The scent of ozone and polished metal gave her away before she even spoke. "Are you ready, human?" came a voice, deep and resonant, tinged with something almost mocking. Adam sighed and stood up, dusting off his hands. He didn't look at her yet. "For what? I've got a broken air filter to fix, and you're asking me if I'm ready." The voice came closer. A shadow stretched over him, blocking out the sun's heat. This time, Adam couldn't help but glance up. Her figure towered over him. At nearly 7 feet tall, the leader, always made an impression. Her skin was a shimmering shade of obsidian, her eyes glowing with a soft amber light that reflected the fiery glow of the sun. Her gaze bore into him, sharp and calculating. "You are ready for the challenge." Adam furrowed his brow. What challenge? Without warning, grabbed him by the collar of his jumpsuit and lifted him off the ground effortlessly, her fingers cold against his skin. His heart skipped a beat, a surge of adrenaline coursing through him as his feet dangled above the dirt. "You will fight me, human," she said, her voice low and commanding. "The trial of strength is upon us. It is tradition. You have no choice. The future of your people depends on it." Adam's chest tightened. He didn't know what game she was playing at, but he didn't like it. His mind raced, trying to recall anything he knew about they were a proud species, warriors in every sense of the word. They had conquered half the known galaxy through sheer force of will, but they revered strength above all else. It was their culture, their religion, their very essence. "Listen," Adam said, his voice strained. "I'm just here to fix machines. I didn't come to fight anyone." A's eyes flashed, her grip tightening around his collar. "You don't understand, human. Your people are weak, and your weakness threatens us all. You must prove you are worthy of our alliance, or we will cast you out, along with the rest of your kind." The words stung, but Adam's years of training kicked in. He didn't flinch, didn't beg. He simply stared into her glowing eyes, willing himself not to be intimidated. He knew the rules now. Wasn't just testing his strength, she was testing his character, his resolve. "I've got nothing to prove to you," Adam muttered, looking directly at her, defiant. "And I'm not hitting anyone, especially not a woman." A's lips curled into something resembling a smile, dangerous and predatory. She dropped him to the ground with a soft thud, the impact jarring him more than he expected. "You misunderstand. It's not about hitting women, it's about survival, your survival, and your life will depend on it." Adam staggered to his feet, confusion and anger mixing in his chest. What the hell does that mean? Took a step forward, her towering presence looming over him. "It means, human, that if you wish to live here, if you want to stay among us, you will have to fight with every ounce of your being, and if you hesitate, you will die." His mind raced as he processed her words. He knew they didn't play by the same rules, but this was something else. She was challenging him, forcing him into a corner where the only option was to fight. He had to survive not just for himself, but for the people he had sworn to protect. But there was something else, something deeply unsettling in the way she spoke. The calm in her voice suggested she knew something Adam didn't. A moment of silence stretched between them, the tension thick and suffocating. Then spoke again, her voice like ice. "Hit me, human. Your life depends on how hard." Adam's blood ran cold. She wanted him to strike her, no, to prove something. To cross a line he had never considered crossing. He had never hit a woman before, not in any fight, not in any circumstance. But now, standing in front of him, the leader of a woman who towered above him, who demanded the impossible, he was faced with a choice that could mean the end of everything he had worked for. His hand trembled slightly as he clenched it into a fist. The clock was ticking. Would he obey? Or would he face the consequences of defying her? Adam stood frozen, his fist still clenched at his side, as the weight of Aw's demand settled over him. The air between them felt charged like the quiet before a storm. Her golden eyes never left him, the soft glow of them reflecting an ancient, unyielding power. His mind was a whirlwind. He knew what Awa was doing, testing him, pushing him to the brink, challenging everything he believed in. But this was different. Hitting someone, especially a woman, went against every fiber of his being. He had fought in wars, faced death countless times, but he'd never had to choose between his honor and survival in such a brutal way. Awa's voice broke through the fog in his head, her tone both patient and relentless. You hesitate because you do not understand, human. You think this is about violence, about weakness. But it is not. It is about understanding power, your power and mine. Adam's teeth ground together as he tried to make sense of it. What was she saying? He thought back to the ancient legends from Earth's history, the gladiators, the warriors, the battles fought in arenas for the amusement of others. Was this her version of that, or something darker? I'm not playing your game, Adam finally managed, his voice thick with frustration. This isn't some arena, this is real. You want me to hit you, why? Awa's eyes softened just for a moment, a flash of something almost human in them, but it was gone as quickly as it had come. Because your people are not ready. You think you are strong because you possess machines, weapons, but those are tools, nothing more. Strength is not found in metal. It is found here. She tapped her chest, where her heart beat under the obsidian skin. Adam swallowed hard. He wanted to argue, wanted to yell at her, but something in her words lingered. They didn't think like humans. They valued strength, yes, but it wasn't just physical. It was mental, emotional, and perhaps spiritual. There was something deep in their culture that Adam couldn't understand, something beyond his training and experience. Awa took another step closer, her presence like a shadow that dwarfed him. You will not survive here without embracing that power, without understanding what it means to break the barriers between species and traditions. Your mind is sharp, human, but your spirit is weak. Adam felt a pang of anger. He had survived hell on Earth, fought against forces far beyond his ability. And now this alien, this towering figure, was telling him his spirit was weak, that hit harder than anything she could throw at him. I'm not weak, he shot back, his voice rising with the heat of his defiance. And I don't need to hit you to prove it. Awa's smile was slow, deliberate. Then show me your strength, strike me human and prove your worth to our kind. Her words rang out like a challenge, a gauntlet thrown at his feet. Adam's fists tightened, his nails digging into his palms. He could feel his pulse in his temples, the urge to lash out, fighting against the part of him that wanted to turn away, to walk away. But there was no walking away from this, not with everything at stake. His mind went back to the people he was meant to protect. Humanity's fragile existence on this alien world depended on his ability to form an alliance with They needed their technology, their resources, their help. But how could he stand with them, or even survive among them, if he didn't meet Awa's challenge? You'll regret this, he muttered under his breath, but there was no turning back. He was in this fight whether he liked it or not. Adam stepped back, his body tense, his mind calculating. Awa wasn't just a towering alien warrior, she was the key to everything. His actions here in this moment would determine the future of their fragile peace. It wasn't just about surviving. It was about proving something bigger, proving humanity's place in this galaxy of giants and gods. Awa seemed to sense the shift in his demeanor, her stance shifting as well. She didn't move to strike, didn't try to provoke him further. She stood waiting, expecting. Adam took a deep breath, closing his eyes for a moment. In his mind's eye, he saw Earth again, the smells of the forests, the sounds of his boots crunching in the gravel. He saw his family, his friends, people who never asked for this. They had trusted him to be their protector, to be strong. Without warning, he swung. His fist connected with Awa's chest in a swift, calculated blow. There was a sickening moment of silence. Then Awa's eyes widened. For a split second, Adam thought he had missed, that his strike had been too weak, too hesitant. But as he looked up, he saw her face. She wasn't surprised, but she wasn't pleased either. "You still do not understand," Ah said, her voice colder now. She didn't move, didn't flinch from the blow. She just stared at him with a mix of disappointment and something else, something sharper. "You did not hit me with your full strength. You held back." Adam's heart sank. He felt the sweat on his forehead, the tremor in his hands as he slowly pulled them away. "I told you," he growled. "I'm not going to hurt you, you're not." "You are weak human," she interrupted, her voice like ice. "And now you will face the consequences of your weakness. We will see if you can learn what true power means." Before Adam could react, Awa grabbed him again, lifting him effortlessly off the ground, but this time she didn't drop him. She threw him backward into the sand, and he landed with a heavy thud, the breath knocked out of him. The world spun around him as he lay there, winded, struggling to breathe. His chest heaved as he looked up, seeing Aa standing above him once again. Her expression was unreadable, her eyes cold. "You've made your choice," she said, her voice distant. "Now face the price of your hesitation." Adam pushed himself to his feet, wiping the blood from his lip. "I won't be a part of this, I won't." But Aa was already turning away. "Then you will die here, human." Adam's heart hammered in his chest as he staggered to his feet, pain lancing through his side. His mind raced, trying to process everything. What had just happened, what was still to come, and most importantly, the harsh truth that Aa had laid bare for him. "You will die here, human." The words echoed in his head as if they had been carved into his skull. Aa's words weren't empty threats. She wasn't playing games. The stakes were real, and he had no way of backing out now. His hesitation had condemned him. But he wouldn't, accept defeat so easily. He forced himself to stand taller, though every muscle in his body screamed in protest. The wind blew the sand around them, swirling in lazy circles. The toxic atmosphere of the planet seemed to press down on him, suffocating him with its weight. But it wasn't the planet that was the real threat. It was Aa, the towering alien whose demands he had already failed to meet, and she wouldn't let him forget it. "You should hit me harder," Aa said coldly, her back still turned as she walked away. "Weakness will be punished here, and your punishment will be swift." Adam clenched his jaw, frustration and fury building inside him. He had never been the type to back down. He had fought his way through, survived countless deadly missions, and outsmarted enemies who had far more resources than he did. Yet here, on an alien world, he was faced with a situation that he couldn't understand. Why did she want him to strike her? Why was that the test of his strength? He took a step forward, ready to speak, to plead, to try reasoning with her. But before he could, Aa turned around. Her amber eyes glowed brighter than ever, and her expression was cold, almost detached. "Do you understand, human?" she asked, her voice almost pitying now. "You think you are strong, but you lack the most essential thing, the do not fear power. We understand the cost of it. Do you?" Adam swallowed hard. The weight of her words landed on him with crushing force. He didn't fear power, but he hadn't fully understood its price. He thought strength came from weapons, from soldiers, from things he could control. He thought machines could solve everything. But Aa was telling him that strength wasn't about control. It was about sacrifice. It was about giving something up in order to gain something greater. "I'm not afraid of you," Adam said through gritted teeth, "but I don't understand your rules." Aa raised an eyebrow, a flicker of something like amusement passing through her cold demeanor. "Your problem, human, is that you never understood your own limitations. You think you are above the rules, but there are no exceptions here. Not for you, not for anyone." Her voice dropped, becoming deadly serious. "There is no mercy here." With that, she stepped back, her arms folding across her chest. Adam's mind raced. He was still on the ground, his body aching, but he had no choice but to rise to his feet. He had to fight, not just to prove his strength, but to survive. He couldn't afford to let Aa's words break him. Adam clenched his fists again, feeling the power of his own muscles flexing under the pressure. He was ready to confront her, to face whatever came next. The world around him was unforgiving, and so was Aa. But he was human, and humanity had a way of finding hope in the darkest places. Aa's voice broke through his thoughts once more, pulling him back to the harsh reality in front of him. "Get up, human. I am not here to coddle you. This world will break you if you let it." She turned her back on him again, heading toward the massive stone structure in the distance, the central fortress where they held their council. Adam watched her go, his heart pounding with a mixture of anger and something else, something more dangerous. He wasn't sure what it was, but it burned through him, pushing him forward, pushing him to rise above the challenge she had thrown at him. He would prove her wrong. He stepped forward, catching up to Aa with a determination he hadn't felt in a long time. "You want me to hit you? Fine," he said, his voice low but steady. "But I'm not going to play by your rules." Aa stopped and turned to face him, her eyes narrowing. "You think you know better than us?" Adam's pulse quickened, but he didn't back down. "No, but I know better than to think violence is the answer to everything." Aa's lips curled into a small smile, though it didn't reach her eyes. "So you will not fight?" "I will fight," Adam said, his tone colder now, "but I'll do it on my terms." Aa's gaze darkened as she studied him for a moment. "You will learn, human. It is not about what you think is right. It is about what is necessary. That is why you are weak." Adam didn't flinch. "Maybe, but I'm still standing, all right." For a moment, silence passed between them, thick and tense. Then, as if deciding something in her own mind, Aa spoke again. "If you think you can win without playing by our rules, then prove it." She stepped aside, gesturing toward the entrance of the fortress. "Come then, prove you are worthy of being here. Show us your strength, human. Show me your strength." With a heavy breath, Adam followed her, the storm of emotions within him raging harder with each step. This wasn't just a physical challenge. It was a test of everything he had fought for, his pride, his honor, his humanity. But this time, there would be no holding back. The walls of the fortress loomed over Adam as he followed Aa into the heart of the stronghold. The structure was nothing like anything he had seen on Earth. The architecture was brutal, jagged, with spires that reached toward the sky like the claws of some enormous beast. The air inside felt colder, heavier, as if the building itself was alive, watching every step they took. Aa didn't speak as they walked, her movements deliberate and measured. Her silence weighed on Adam. He couldn't shake the feeling that every step he took, every breath he drew, was being scrutinized. He had been in the presence of powerful beings before, but nothing compared to the pressure of facing and especially Aa in this space. The sound of their footsteps echoed down the hall, and Adam noticed the strange symbols carved into the walls, a mixture of alien writing and intricate designs that seemed to pulse with faint energy. It was clear that this was not just a building. It was a symbol of power, of centuries of history, and of the brutal traditions that they held so dearly. At the end of the long corridor, a massive door opened automatically, revealing a large chamber. Adam's eyes scanned the room, taking in the high ceiling and the strange lighting fixtures that seemed to grow directly from the walls, casting an eerie glow across the chamber. In the center of the room stood a raised platform, surrounded by an audience of warriors, each one more intimidating than the last. Aa stopped just at the entrance, and Adam followed suit, his heart hammering in his chest. He had thought he was prepared for this, but standing in this room with the warriors surrounding him made everything feel real in a way it hadn't before. The trial was no longer a vague concept. It was happening. Now. "You have one chance, human." Aa's voice broke the silence, her words chilling and heavy. "One chance to prove your worth. Your life will depend on how well you understand the cost of strength. Do not disappoint me." Adam swallowed hard, his throat dry. His mind raced, but he knew this moment wasn't about thinking. It was about surviving. There was no room for doubt, no room for hesitation. He had to act. Aa gestured to the platform ahead, and Adam stepped forward, his legs moving with a purpose he hadn't realized he possessed. The warriors lined the edges of the chamber, their eyes following every move he made. He could feel their judgment in the air, thick and suffocating. The floor beneath him suddenly shifted, and a section of it began to rise, revealing a series of strange devices, pulsing, humming with energy. Adam took a deep breath, trying to steady his racing heart. His mind flashed back to the training he had during his time with Earth's military. He had been trained for everything, every possible scenario, every kind of opponent. But this was something entirely different. "This is the trial," Aa said, her voice cold and devoid of emotion. "You will face the champions. You must defeat them in combat. If you do not, you will be cast out, alone with nothing but the wasteland." Adam's blood ran cold. Defeat the champions? That wasn't just a physical challenge, it was an execution. A low growl rumbled through the room as the first champion, a massive warrior with a scar running across his face, stepped forward. His body was thick with muscle, his hands curled into fists that could crush Adam's skull in an instant. The crowd murmured, anticipation building in the air. Adam's pulse quickened, his fingers flexing, his breath shallow. He glanced at Aa, who watched with a detached, almost bored expression. There was no sympathy in her eyes. She wasn't here to save him. She was here to watch him fail. The first warrior charged, moving faster than Adam had expected. Adam barely had time to react, sidestepping the massive blow aimed at his head. He felt the air from the punch as it whooshed past him, narrowly missing. His instincts kicked in. He didn't hesitate. His own fist shot out, landing a solid hit to the side. The warrior grunted, but it wasn't enough to stop him. The champion spun around, delivering a blow to Adam's chest that knocked the wind out of him. He stumbled back, almost losing his balance, but he refused to fall. He had to stay on his feet. This wasn't just about physical strength, it was about outthinking his opponent, about using every bit of his training to survive. Adam's mind raced. He had to focus. He couldn't afford to give Aa the satisfaction of seeing him fail. The warrior lunged again, but this time Adam was ready. He ducked under the punch, stepping to the side. He was fast, faster than the had expected. With a sharp twist of his body, Adam delivered a brutal elbow strike to the warrior's back. The staggered, but didn't fall. The crowd roared in approval, but Aa's face remained unmoved. The champion recovered quickly, spinning around to face Adam once more. The air between them crackled with tension. "You fight well for a human," the warrior growled, his voice a deep rumble. "But it will not be enough." Adam didn't respond. He wasn't here to talk, he was here to fight. The lunged again, his arms wide, ready to crush Adam with a bear hug. But Adam anticipated the move. He then planted his foot on the ground, using his momentum to slam his fist directly into the warrior's face. The impact was deafening. The warrior stumbled backward, blood trickling from his nose. The audience gasped in shock, and for the first time, Adam saw a flicker of something in Aa's eyes, surprise, perhaps. It lasted only a moment, but it was enough to give him hope. The warrior roared in fury, his eyes narrowing with hatred. He launched himself at Adam again, faster this time, and Adam knew that if he didn't do something soon, this fight would be over. He had to end it now. Adam's eyes locked on his chest, his mind working in overdrive. He dropped to the ground, sweeping the warrior's legs out from under him. The massive crashed to the floor with a bone-shaking thud. Before he could get up, Adam was on top of him, straddling his chest. With a single swift motion, Adam slammed his elbow into the warrior's throat, cutting off his air supply. The champion's eyes bulged and his hands clawed at Adam's arms, but he was too slow. Within moments, the warrior went limp. The room fell silent. Adam stood up slowly, panting, sweat dripping down his forehead. He looked around at the stunned warriors. Their eyes were wide, filled with a mix of disbelief and admiration. Aa, however, said nothing. She simply stared at him. "Is this what you wanted?" Adam asked, his voice hoarse, though he tried to keep it steady. "Did I prove my strength?" Aa remained silent for a long moment before she nodded slowly. "You have passed the first trial." Adam's heart still raced, but for the first time since arriving on this alien world, he felt a sense of relief. He wasn't done yet, but he had earned something, respect. He had survived the first test. But there was more to come, much more. Adam wiped the sweat from his brow, the taste of victory bitter on his tongue. He won the first fight, barely, but the silence in the chamber was deafening. The warriors watched him with unblinking eyes, but Aa's gaze was the one that weighed most heavily on him. She had not spoken since his victory, her expression unreadable. The tension in the room was thick, and Adam knew it wasn't over. This wasn't just a test of strength, it was something more. Aa had made it clear that this was a trial of everything, not just his physical prowess, but his mind, his spirit, and his will. Aa finally spoke, her voice cutting through the stillness. "You have passed the first trial, human, but there are 2 more to face. You are not yet finished." Adam's heart pounded as she stepped forward, her tall, imposing figure casting a long shadow over him. "What's next?" he asked, his voice strained but firm. "More fighting." Aa's lips curled into a slight smile, but there was no warmth in it. "No, this trial is different. It is not about your strength. It is about your mind, your adaptability." Before Adam could respond, a section of the chamber's floor began to shift, revealing a large pit in the center. The walls surrounding the pit seemed to glow, casting a pulsating light over the area. At the center of the pit, a strange, alien contraption whirred to life, the hum of its machinery filling the room. Adam's eyes narrowed, but he didn't ask. He knew that they didn't explain their trials in detail. They expected you to understand through action. Ah gestured to the pit, her tone colder than before. You will enter the pit. It will challenge your mind, your patience, and your ability to adapt to an environment that does not follow your rules. It is a test of intelligence, not brawn. If you fail, you will be cast out, and your mission will be over. Adam swallowed hard, but he nodded. He had faced challenges before, but this one felt different. It wasn't about fighting to win, it was about surviving by outthinking whatever lay ahead. He stepped toward the pit, feeling the eyes of the warriors on him. Each one stood silent, waiting for him to fail. There was no support here, no mercy. The only thing that mattered was the trial. As Adam descended into the pit, the light from above flickered, and a cold wind whipped around him. The air grew thick, almost suffocating, as though the pit itself was alive, watching him, waiting for him to make a mistake. He looked around and saw nothing but darkness. The machine in the center emitted a low hum, and as he approached it, a series of holographic screens appeared in front of him, floating in midair. They displayed a series of alien symbols, complex patterns that seemed to shift and change with every passing second. A voice echoed from the walls, a deep, resonant sound that vibrated in his bones. Solve the puzzle, human. Solve it before time runs out. Your mind is your greatest weapon. Prove you can wield it. The voice faded, and Adam was left staring at the shifting symbols. His mind raced. He had faced complex problems before, military strategy, engineering, even the mechanics of war machines, but this was something completely different. The patterns on the screens didn't make sense. The symbols seemed to shift as he tried to focus on them, as if mocking his attempts to decipher them. He reached out, trying to touch one of the symbols. It shimmered as his fingers brushed against it, but the moment he made contact, the symbols changed again, faster this time. Frustration surged within him, but Adam fought to control it. He took a deep breath, trying to clear his mind. Think, this isn't about brute force, it's about understanding. The symbols weren't just random. They followed a pattern, one that Adam could almost feel but couldn't quite grasp. His instincts told him there was a trick to this, something simple hidden beneath the complexity. His eyes flicked from one symbol to the next, trying to catch the rhythm. Slowly, it clicked. He noticed that some symbols repeated in a certain order. Others seemed to connect, forming a recognizable sequence. But it wasn't enough. He needed more. He stepped back, packing in the confined space of the pit. He needed a bigger picture, something to tie it all together. Focus, he told himself. What's the key here? Then it hit him. The symbols weren't just shifting randomly. They were reacting to his movements, to his actions. The system was intelligent. It was testing his adaptability, pushing him to respond to the ever-changing environment. He took a calculated risk. Adam started touching the symbols in a sequence that felt right, his fingers moving with precision, following the pattern he had discerned. As he touched the last one, a sudden burst of light flashed through the pit, and the screens flickered off. For a moment, Adam stood still, heart racing, his breath shallow. Had he done it? Had he passed the trial? The hum of the machine stopped, and the floor beneath him shifted again, this time opening into a new passageway. Adam stepped forward cautiously, his mind still spinning from the puzzle he had just solved. As he reached the end of the passage, a voice echoed through the chamber once more. You have completed the second trial, human, but do not grow complacent. The final trial awaits. Adam didn't feel relief. There was no time for that. The third trial would be the ultimate test. His body was tired, his mind exhausted from the puzzle, but he couldn't afford to falter. He had come this far, and he couldn't back down now. As he emerged from the pit, Aa was waiting for him, her eyes cold but with a glint of something. Respect, maybe. Or perhaps it was just the cold calculation of a warrior who had witnessed a worthy opponent. You have impressed me, human, she said, her voice low. But this was only the beginning. The final test is not one you can solve with logic or strength. It is a test of your soul. Adam's heart skipped a beat. A test of his soul? What did that mean? Was this another trial of physical strength, or was it something more? Aa's gaze never wavered as she watched him. You have come far, but now you must prove you are worthy of the power you seek. Adam nodded, though his mind was racing. This was the moment that would define everything. He had survived the first two trials, but the final test was still ahead. It would demand more than just his mind, his strength, or his resolve. It would demand everything. The words, test of your soul, lingered in Adam's mind, echoing louder than the pounding of his heart. He had fought in wars, faced death, and overcome nearly impossible odds. But this was different. He had no idea what awaited him in the final trial, but he could feel the weight of Aa's words. They weren't known for mercy, and they had already pushed him to his limits. The floor of the chamber beneath him rumbled as Aa turned and walked toward a set of massive double doors that had remained closed until now. She reached them, and without a glance back at Adam, pushed them open. Beyond the doors, the chamber was darker, its atmosphere thick with an ancient, oppressive energy. Adam hesitated, his mind racing. Was this it? Was he ready? But there was no time to question. Aa was already inside, her silhouette a dark figure against the dim light of the inner chamber. He steeled himself, his breath shallow and quick as he followed her, stepping into the unknown. The moment he crossed the threshold, the doors slammed shut behind him, leaving him with only the faint sound of his own breathing. His eyes adjusted to the dim light, and the room around him began to take shape. It was unlike anything he had seen. The floor was covered in an intricate pattern of alien symbols, symbols that glowed faintly in the dark. The air smelled of something ancient, almost intoxicating. At the center of the room, an altar of sorts stood, carved from the same obsidian stone as Aa's skin, adorned with glowing runes. Atop the altar was a strange object, a crystalline orb, pulsating with an eerie light. Aa stood at the far end of the room, her arms folded across her chest. "This is the final trial, human," she said, her voice low and filled with an almost reverential tone. "It is not about strength nor intellect. It is about understanding who you are, what you are willing to sacrifice." Adam's brow furrowed. He could feel the weight of her words, the gravity in them. "What do you mean?" he asked, his voice tense. Aa's gaze softened just for a moment before it hardened again. "You have fought, you have solved puzzles, but now you will face your greatest test. You will confront your own soul, your deepest fears, your darkest desires. Only by confronting them will you prove your worth." Adam felt a chill run down his spine. What did that mean? Confront his own soul, his deepest fears. The idea seemed almost absurd, but there was no room for doubt. They didn't make idle threats. If they said this was a trial of the soul, it was something far beyond anything he had imagined. As if sensing his hesitation, Aa stepped forward. "You have no choice but to face this trial. Once you step forward, there is no going back. What you see will be real, even if it seems like a dream. You will face yourself, your choices, your regrets, your future. You will fight your own inner darkness. Only by overcoming it will you earn the right to stand with us." Adam's mind raced. His past was filled with mistakes, failures, things he wasn't proud of. But this was different. Was Aa asking him to relive those moments, to face the ghosts of his own making? "Do you have the courage to face your own soul?" Aa's voice cut through his thoughts, challenging him. There was no time for doubt. He stepped forward, the cold stone floor beneath his boots making no sound. The moment his foot crossed the threshold, everything changed. The room around him warped and shifted. The floor beneath him seemed to melt away, and suddenly Adam was no longer standing in the chamber. He was somewhere else entirely, a dark, barren battlefield, the sky filled with smoke and the acrid stench of burning metal. He froze, his heart racing. The sights, the sounds, everything was so vivid, so real. He recognized the battlefield. It was Earth. It was the last war he had fought in, the war that had haunted him since the day it ended. The scene shifted again, and Adam found himself standing at the edge of a cliff, looking out at a vast, empty landscape. His hands were shaking as he stared out at the horizon, the same hollow emptiness that had plagued him since that war. "Why did you leave?" a voice echoed behind him. Adam turned, his heart lurching in his chest. The voice belonged to someone he had tried to forget, a woman. Someone he had failed, someone he had loved. She stood there, her face etched with pain, her eyes full of unspoken words. He knew exactly who she was, and the weight of her presence hit him like a tidal wave. It was Anna, the woman he had left behind when the war had taken everything from him. Adam started, but his words caught in his throat. He couldn't speak. He didn't have the words, the guilt, the regret, they suffocated him. "You left me," Anna said, her voice filled with sorrow. "You left us all. You ran away when I needed you the most." Adam's chest tightened and his hands clenched into fists. He wanted to reach out to explain, but the words didn't come. He was trapped in the past, in the one moment he couldn't escape. "Do you see now?" Aa's voice echoed around him, her presence like a shadow looming over him. "You cannot outrun your past. You cannot escape the consequences of your actions." Adam turned to face Awe, his eyes wide with confusion and desperation. What do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? Awe's face was unreadable, her gaze fixed on him. You must face it, human. You must confront your failures. You must accept them. Only by embracing your past can you move forward. The ground beneath him trembled, and the scene around him shifted once again. The sky turned dark, the landscape crumbled, and the battlefield dissolved into nothingness. Adam was back in the chamber, standing before Awe, his heart racing, his body shaking. He was still breathing hard, his chest heaving with the weight of the trial. The memories of the past lingered, but now he felt different. Lighter somehow, stronger. Awe looked at him, her eyes piercing through him. You have done it, human. You have confronted your soul. You have accepted your failures and faced the darkness inside you. Adam nodded slowly, his hands still trembling. He didn't know if he had truly accepted it, but he knew one thing: he had passed the trial. And in doing so, he had earned something far more valuable than strength or intellect. He had earned peace. You are worthy, Ah said, her voice softer now, though still commanding. You have proven yourself. Adam exhaled deeply, the tension leaving his body in a single breath. He had faced his darkest fears and survived. He had passed the final trial. Ah stepped back, her expression unreadable once more. You have earned the right to stand with to join us in the future we will build together. Your strength, your adaptability, and your soul are all that you need. Welcome, human. Adam stood tall, the weight of the trials heavy on his shoulders, but somehow lighter now. He had done it. He had faced the trials, and he had emerged victorious. But the journey was far from over. Adam stood in the center of the chamber, his chest rising and falling with every breath. The weight of the trials was still heavy on his body, but there was a sense of clarity in his mind now. The past had tried to claim him, to drown him in guilt, but he had broken free. He had faced his demons and survived. And now, standing before the leader of he knew that the true test was still ahead. His soul had been tested, but what would come next? What would be the ultimate price of all of this? Stood tall, her eyes glowing with quiet approval, though her posture remained unyielding. The audience of warriors had grown silent, waiting for the next step, the final judgment. Adam could feel their eyes on him, the weight of their expectations pressing down on him. They had witnessed his journey. They had seen his strength, his intellect, and his spirit. But now it was time for the last decision. You have proven yourself human. Aw's voice cut through the silence, calm and measured. You have passed all 3 trials, you have fought, you have solved, you have faced the depths of your soul. You are worthy of standing with us side by side. Adam's throat tightened. For a moment he thought he could almost hear Anna's voice in his head again, a ghost of the past. You left me. That voice had driven him for so long. But now he was standing here on the precipice of a new beginning. Took a step forward, her towering presence shadowing him once more. But now you face the true test, the final choice, the one that will determine your place in this galaxy with and with humanity. Adam's stomach twisted. What did she mean by that? He had thought this was the end, that he had proven his worth. But Number was never one for simplicity. She gestured to the altar once again, where the crystalline orb pulsed with light. The orb was now more vibrant, almost alive, as though it was calling to him. You will decide the future, she said, her tone softening slightly. Take the orb, human, use it. It is a weapon, yes, but also something more. It has the power to change the course of history, to shift the balance of power in the galaxy. It can give you dominion over technology, over the very forces of nature itself. Adam's pulse quickened. This was not just about survival anymore. It was about choice. A power, a decision that would determine the fate of his people. He had fought to get here, had endured the trials, but now it was about what he did next. The orb could change everything, but was he ready for that? Continued, her voice dropping to a whisper. But understand this, human. Such power comes with a cost. It will change you. It will change everything you know. It will alter your relationship with thee and your species. If you take it, you will be bound to it. You will carry its weight for as long as you live. Adam's eyes flicked to the orb. It seemed to pulse with an almost hypnotic rhythm. Could he do this? Could he wield this kind of power? He thought back to everything he had experienced, the pain of losing Anna, the guilt of his failures, the hope of a future with But the weight of the decision was immense. He had lived his life as a soldier, a survivor, but this was something else entirely. Ah's voice broke through his thoughts. You may choose. If you refuse, you will walk away from this place, your mission unfinished. The will not interfere. Your people will remain vulnerable, exposed. But if you take it, you will rise with us. You will stand at the helm of something greater than you ever imagined. Adam clenched his fists, his thoughts swirling. Could he afford to leave the behind? Could he live with the knowledge that he had the power to protect his people but chose to walk away from it? No, he couldn't, not again. He stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest, and placed his hand on the crystalline orb. The moment his fingers made contact, the light from the orb flared brightly, filling the entire chamber. A sharp pulse of energy surged through him, filling every fiber of his being. His muscles trembled, his vision blurred. He felt his mind stretch, expand, and then contract as if his very consciousness were being reshaped. It was overwhelming. He heard Ah's voice once more, distant and faint, as though coming from somewhere far away. You have made your choice. The power that coursed through Adam's body was nothing like he had ever felt. It was as if he had unlocked the very core of the universe. His senses were heightened, his thoughts sharper, his body stronger. It was intoxicating and terrifying. He staggered back, gasping for breath, as the light from the orb dimmed. Slowly, the power began to settle, a warm, resonant energy that hummed within him. The orb was still there, but it had become part of him, fused with his being. Adam took a steadying breath. His hands were no longer trembling. The power was now a part of him. He could feel it, feel the endless possibilities it offered, but with that power came something else. A weight, a responsibility. Ah stepped forward, her eyes narrowing, watching him with a mixture of approval and wariness. You have taken it. You are bound to it now as we are bound to the stars. Do not give such power lightly. Do not squander it. Adam nodded, his mind still processing the enormity of what had just happened. He had chosen. He had taken the orb and accepted the responsibility that came with it. The power would change him, but it also meant he could change the future. He looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of the warriors. They stood in silence, their gazes unreadable, yet there was something in their eyes, a glint of something like respect or perhaps expectation. They had watched him fight, solve, and now accept. He had earned their approval, but it came at a price. Ah spoke again, her voice soft yet final. The future is yours, human. You stand with the now. Your people will be protected, but only if you prove worthy of this power. You will lead them if you can. Adam stood tall, feeling the weight of his decision. They were a powerful ally, but their expectations were clear. He had crossed the point of no return. There was no going back. His eyes hardened with resolve. I will prove it, he said, his voice steady. I will prove to both our peoples that we are stronger together. The chamber fell silent, and for the first time since arriving on this alien world, Adam felt a sense of purpose settle over him. The trials had changed him, had tested him in ways he never thought possible. But now, with the power of the behind him and the weight of humanity's future in his hands, he knew that his real journey was only just beginning. And this time he wouldn't fail.